Warning. Absolutely everything I'm about to talk about is beyond sickening, disgusting, and vile to its very core. Okay, I'm done selling you the movie. Let's jump in.
Who is it?
Mind your business, you fucking bitch!
Frailty is a 2002 suspense/horror movie that has really resonated with me over the years. Why? Well, I've brought this up before, but for those of you who don't know, I am the son of a preacher, with all the stereotypes that go with it. I'm rebellious, horny, and dubious in my intentions, and that's why today's Rock and Horror Pictures show really connected with me. My father was a kind, decent, and loving man, the kind who would do anything and go out of his way to protect his children. So when I read stories like Abraham and Isaac in the Bible, I was left with a real sense of unease. What if God asked for something that seems cruel and macabre, such as taking the life of your own child? And if he can ask that of you, what does that say about God?
You want to tell me what the f*** that was?
This thought was a dark fascination of mine. I'm not kidding when I say I often prayed as a child that he never asked of my father to put me on some sacrificial altar to prove his devotion, no matter how unlikely that scenario may be. I'd pray for that. And world peace, I guess. One of those two prayers was answered, seeing as I'm still here making YouTube videos. But still, it was a distant fear of mine. What if the good Lord made my protector snap? That's the heart of the story of Frailty, directed by and starring the late, great Bill Paxton. You can tell how seriously Bill Paxton took this script, as his portrayal of a loving, hardworking single father is delivered with a passionate, restrained sincerity that only a true believer can muster. He is the average father of that generation, one who the viewer immediately trusts and believes in. That's the cruelest element of all of this. The fact that you find yourself so believing in his care that when all of the horrific shit starts to go down, you still want to believe in that caring, hardworking man who just wants to do right by his children. But was Dad actually a killer sent from God? Or had he simply snapped and had an unbelievably good nose for the criminally insane? The movie never definitively answers this question, but I'm very curious about everybody else's theories as to what the truth of this movie really is. Let me know in the comments below. I'm all ears. Before we continue, consider smashing that subscribe button if your taste in movies runs as black as mine. And possibly a like if you want to egg me on to keep watching this shit. Alright, let's take a few steps back. The film begins with a bulletin board full of crime scene photos, or what I like to refer to as decorative flair. These are the many victims of the quote-unquote God's hand killer. And as we move past this little montage of murder, we are introduced to the main characters of the present timeline. Fenton Minks, protagonist of the film, played by none other than Matthew McConaughey.
All right.
Matthew enters a police station late at night and introduces himself to a Detective Doyle. I will be calling Matthew's character Matthew instead of Fenton, by the way.
Be a lot cooler if you did.
Because, let's face it, we all see him as Matthew McC at the end of the day. All of this just for future reference, my dear, dear audience. Anyway, Matthew McC has a profound revelation to impart. That he knows who the God's Hand Killer actually is.
All right, I'll buy. Who?
And he's ready to give all of the details for one night and one night only. Matthew confesses that recently he's gotten a very disturbing phone call from his own brother, who believes the world is being taken over by demons. Matthew takes this phone call very seriously, which is in direct contrast to the people in my life when I shoot out late night phone calls about demons.
Hello.
Demons are taking over the world. Sleeve, stop hitting the bottle. Go to bed. Unfortunately, Matthew isn't able to talk his brother off a ledge here. His brother takes his boom boom stick after taking a giant chug of whiskey, and he's probably fine, right?
He doesn't have a head!
Matthew's story captures the detective's interest. He invites Matthew to tell him more. So Matthew begins to tell his story. A very, very, very long story, of which I'm not sure how the detective sat through all of without falling asleep or wandering off from boredom. So Matthew dives into his story, a Stephen King-esque tale about two brothers who lived in a small town in a small house out behind the rose garden. This is already a sign of impending doom, as anytime there's a rose garden in a horror or suspense movie, it's usually a sign of bad things to come. We'll call it Chekhov's Rose Garden. You know it's coming back later, and it's going to be deadly. The two brothers of this Stephen King-esque tale are typical children of the era, lightly pushing against the rules while also trying to live up to the expectations of their father, Bill Paxton, who I will be calling Bill for the remainder of this episode. Bill, a hard-working auto mechanic, makes sure that his boys are always taken care of. The model father of an era, especially given the fact that he's doing it all alone. We immediately are drawn into his world, his responsibilities, and the family dynamic that drives it all. A very, very strong start for the Paxtons, I'd say. Okay, fine, the Minks. I'll draw the line there. The night that changes everything for the brothers Minks begins with having a discussion about what movie they want to see. The youngest brother, Adam, says he wants to go see Meatballs, but his older brother, Fenton, has a better idea.
Nah, we're gonna go see the Warriors.
Can't. It's rated R.
We'll sneak in.
By the way, this is literally how I saw this movie at the ripe age of 15. I bought a ticket to a PG-13 movie, swapped theaters, and watched this one instead. I remember laughing audibly with my friends at that line. Just a side note. They end this lighthearted conversation and both fall asleep into a blissful slumber. Until...
Fenton, wake up.
That's it. The moment that changes everything. Mr. Paxton, usually a man of sound mind and calm disposition, has a bizarre announcement to make. The Lord has spoken to him, and the family now has a mission sent from on high, and he's been commanded to help cleanse the world of evil. You see, Bill had a vision in which his trophy started shining. And sure, that trophy could have been shining for all sorts of reasons. But I guess in his mind, the only possible explanation resides in having received a vision from on high. God spoke to him, and he told him a horrible truth.
There are demons among us.
You see, demons walk among the earth. They look like you and me. But they're not. They're sent straight from hell to walk upon the earth, and there's only one thing preventing them from taking over. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Minks family. Not some archangel or spiritual entity, the Minks, in their outdated flesh and blood, ready to fight a spiritual war. That's what God commanded. If all of this sounds totally insane, that's because it is. And the son points that out.
But Dad, that doesn't make any sense.
The immediate skepticism from his oldest doesn't even faze Bill, who assures them that he finds all of this strange too. But he knows it's God's will, so he will make sense of it regardless. Adam then chimes in with his thoughts on the mission.
I'm scared, Dad.
There's nothing to be afraid of, Tiger.
Sir, with all due respect, what you have just described is one of the most terrifying scenarios you could possibly relay to a child. But I digress. The children are rightfully confused and unsure of how serious their father even is about this mission. Bill assures the children that this will all be accomplished through the use of magical tools.
Magical weapons?
I imagine so.
Expelliarmus!
The next morning, Fenton is unsure if what he experienced the night before was even real. Adam is hardly even fazed.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, geez, Fenton. You're acting like Dad just told us our family mission is to murder demons that look like people. Snap out of it, pal. Life goes on in a fog for Fenton, who is unsure of how and when his father's divine mission will manifest itself. And for a good long while, nothing happens, forcing him to wonder if he dreamed the whole thing up. And so he slowly lets his guard down. Until, once again, Dad has another vision from God. Seriously though, someone needs to check the chemical content in that garage, because in all likelihood, our boy is simply tripping balls by huffing noxious fumes. Still, Bill seems quite content with the knowledge that he has received another call from the Lord. We soon find out that the aforementioned tools aren't so much magical as they are the utensils of a serial killer. An axe with the name Otis carved into it, which, by the way, is apparently the name of a random homeless man Bill Paxton met in real life. I'm sure that homeless man was very flattered. He also receives a pair of gloves.
I still can't understand what these gloves are for, though.
Right. What role could gloves possibly play when carrying out an axe murder? So they have the tools. They have the list. It's time for the Lord to work in mysterious ways and guide the family towards their first victim. These are the parts that work very well for the movie, and what make the movie a perfect example of horror fused with suspense. Waiting to see what Bill Paxton does with this mission is the primary source of tension you feel while watching this movie. As each execution approaches, you find yourself wishing alongside Fenton that this is the last one and it's finally over. There's one cute moment where Adam tells Bill Paxton that God gave him a list of his own. It contains the names of bullies from school. He's a demon, Adam explains with a swell of pride. Bill Paxton scolds him for faking a murder list.
We destroy demons. If we were to use your list, we wouldn't be destroying demons, we'd be killing people. And we can never do that.
Now, son, while God does sometimes command you to kill people, you have to make sure they're the right people.
Just gotta have a little patience. Don't worry. God will send you your own list when you're older.
These are the bits of paternal wisdom that really define a person's values throughout their life, after all. I know this type of wisdom helped me when I was a kid. Damn, I was just about to make a murder list, but then I remembered that time that Dad sat me on his knee and said, "Son, if you're gonna make a murder list, it better be straight from God." So I waited for that list before I claimed my first victim. Now that we're closer than ever to the first victim, or demon as his father believes, Fenton sees this as a real test of moral culpability. Does he stop his father from carrying out this act? How would he even do this? He briefly considers telling the police before getting the zoomies and racing off. He does nothing ultimately, a victim of the fear of what his father will do if he tries to stop him. So he waits. Until one day, that first victim is prime delivered right to their doorstep. The first name on the list, Cynthia Harbridge, who is actually a demon in need of smiting. Bill had no problem finding her, as God pointed the way for him. What do you think the G in GPS stands for anyways, you heathen? And then, right as all this crescendos, we're abruptly thrown back into the office of the detective. He stares at Matthew McConaughey, still slack-jawed and distant, having listened to him prattle for the last half hour. He says, "Son, does this story have a fucking point?" And Matthew, still slack-jawed as ever, explains, actually, I can take you to the Rose Garden right now. And the detective is like, "Why the f didn't you tell me that earlier?" He handcuffs Matthew, takes him down to the car without IDing him, and drives off to the Rose Garden, post-haste. They go over some of the details of the detective's life, such as his relationship with his mother, which actually has a very dark truth to it. And then, whoosh, we're taken right back to Fenton's childhood. So Dad takes off his murder gloves, ready to reveal the demon's true face. He slowly reaches towards the woman with dramatic flair. And then, he touches her, and his whole body stiffens. He convulses uncontrollably, and then Adam says, "Dad, you're holding a live wire." "Oh, thanks, son." Though nothing about this lady's physical appearance changes, Bill has evidently seen enough in his mind's eye to go through with God's commandment. He grabs his trusty Otis axe, raises it over his head, and says, "Hey, Paul!" No, he doesn't say that, but he does mercilessly slaughter this poor woman in front of his children. This is one of the strongest elements to the movie, actually. The violence does not take place on screen, rather only being communicated through the horrified looks of both of the children as Dad swings into the victims. That speaks so much louder than a random spurt of blood or an Art the Clown style dismemberment ever could. To be clear, I'm not knocking Art. His work is brilliant. But there's a time and a place, damn you. After relieving the demon of her head and appendages, we cut to the Rose Garden. I told you it was Chekhov's Rose Garden. Never trust those spots. They're always the burial site for covering up horrific crimes. Adam helps with the remains while Fenton sits and cries. unable to process the horror his father has now shown him.
You killed her.
I didn't kill her, son. I destroyed her. She was a demon.
Son, I told you, they're demons. That makes this totally different. I'm basically the Doom Slayer now. It's okay to mercilessly dismember your opponents as long as they're demons, right? Has id Software taught you nothing? Bill Paxton takes on the paternal role of helping talk through the trauma he's inflicted on his oldest son. He explains to him that he didn't think he could do it either. But then he realized, upon touching the wicked, that they were indeed worthy of God's wrath. And he sympathetically explains,
I'm sorry you didn't see it too. You will next time.
This moment was powerful for me. The horror in Fenton's voice as his father confesses that this is simply the first time.
You're gonna do it again?
You feel it. You're haunted by it. He is now stuck in a new reality, one where his father will continue to commit unspeakable acts of violence in the name of the Lord. And worst of all, he has few options to fight back. The police? They'd never believe such a crazy tale. And Adam? He appears to have bought into all of it. Whether he actually has, or is simply sucking up to his father, it's unclear. But Fenton has truly found himself alone in this equation. The helplessness is the perfect fuel for his character development as the film progresses. Now that they're officially a family of Doomslayers, there is one missing crucial ingredient: a certified rape van to snatch unsuspecting victims off the street with. Fortunately, Dad apparently has a connection with the local neighborhood sex offender and comes up on this van very easily. From there, the children are used to lure out demons by pretending to lose puppies in parking lots and shit.
Hey, Trixie! Trixie, come on!
Trixie, that is a terrific name. If you're a hooker.
It's actually pretty astonishing how easy this works. No one sees them in public, though Dad has promised the two that they won't ever be caught because it's all part of God's plan. And so a second victim is caught, an older man who apparently is also a demon. Another killing is about to take place. I don't know why, but this killing always cracks me up, because as Bill reveals the demon's true nature, he screams,
You didn't think anyone knew about that, did you?
Then he closes the blind shut, like this is somehow going to throw off the scent of anybody who might be watching, including the good Lord himself. All right, buddy, it's just you and me now. Like, sir, you are alone in an abandoned rose garden. I'm pretty sure you're good here. And then he hacks into the poor man. As they bury their latest victim in the rose garden, the father explains to his traumatized children,
He was a murderer of little children, Fenton. Babies.
Spoken like a true pro-life advocate, Bill wanders off, muttering about babies. And Fenton loses his cool. He's had enough of the new family business. He wants out. We need to run away, he tells Adam. Adam, however, dismisses the idea.
He's a demon slayer. That's all lies, Adam. No, it's not. I see it when he touches him.
He claims he's also seen the visions from God and believes they're actually on a righteous mission from on high. Fenton has had enough.
Dad's brainwashed you. It's all a big lie. He's a murderer and you help him. Nuh-uh! We're just serving God's will.
This insinuation does not sit well, so Adam runs off. Ooh, I'm telling, he screams. The next morning, Fenton is awoken by his father, who wants a private chat about expanding the family business. But he needs to clarify his mission statement so his son buys into the idea.
I've never killed anything in my whole life.
True, but these people look just like people. Even if I knew someone was a diddler or a murderer, I would still have a lot more trouble swinging an axe into a human being's neck than old Bill did here. He was ready for that shit to a psychopathic degree. Probably would have made a really great hangsman in the old Wild West. He had it coming. Bill finds Fenton's lack of faith disturbing, so he gives him an endurance test to find God. He wants Fenton to dig a large hole in the ground and pray that God gives him the strength to do it all by himself. What is this hole going to be used for? I guess that's the real question. For now, it's Fenton's mission to dig and bloody his hands, recover, and dig some more. When Dad asks if Fenton's been praying, Fenton replies,
Hell no, to the no, 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 yeah, to the no.
Finally, they complete the project and see what role this huge dirt hole plays. It's going to be used for the new murder dungeon for the family doomslaying business. Great job, Fenton. You just built your dad a murder dungeon. Solid work. Hopefully it's Vault Tech approved. Dad just can't wait to try out the new murder dungeon, so he goes off to kidnap a new demon to slay. This time, there's a twist. Dad hands the axe to Fenton, expecting him to slaughter this demonic entity. Again, the warm paternal advice that made my childhood complete. You don't want to waste your time swinging endlessly into your victims, son. Just hit the vitals. Thanks, Dad. Instead of bonding with his father in this touching moment of murder, Fenton turns and runs. He half expects angels or demons to stop him as he runs off into the night, desperate to find law enforcement. And so he knocks and knocks until finally, a grouchy sheriff answers the door. He's very sleepy and not amused. Sorry to bother you, sir, but my dad built a murder dungeon on our property, and well, he's really eager to use it. I thought you might have a problem with that, being a lawman and all. The sheriff follows Fenton home, and his father is already waiting for them. Craziest tale I've ever heard, Bill says, looking to his son with disapproving eyes. Fenton isn't done yet. He pleads the sheriff to follow him to the back of the house. The sheriff does so, only to discover that the victim is no longer down there. But before they can leave the murder basement peacefully, splat! Bill slices his axe into the sheriff's heart. He falls back, bleeding and afraid. Then, Bill says to him,
May God welcome you and keep you.
To which I'm sure the sheriff was thinking, your God is the one who ordered you to kill me. F that guy. Bill becomes violently ill upon hacking up the sheriff. Sure, this might be no different than any of his other victims visually, but emotionally, this one really hit his sore spot. As they bury the sheriff that night, Dad says,
I never killed a man before tonight.
and Fenton replies,
I've seen you kill plenty.
Dad pleads with his son. Because of Fenton, Dad had to commit murder. Fenton replies coldly,
I didn't make you do anything. You did. You're crazy.
This line sends Bill over the edge. He pushes his son back, lifts his axe, and before he can go all Abraham on Fenton's ass, Adam intervenes. Bill falls to the floor, unable to follow through, and begins to weep. This whole murder mission from God has become emotionally taxing for some reason. That night, Dad tells Fenton the truth. God has revealed to him that Fenton himself is one of the demons. You see, the Lord isn't happy with Fenton's lack of violent inclinations. That's an obvious sign of the devil. But Dad has a solution. He's going to ground Fenton in the most harsh way imaginable. Fenton gets more than grounded. He gets undergrounded. The murder dungeon he helped his father dig becomes his home for several long weeks as he is deprived of food, water, and eventually he becomes completely delirious. There, in that desperate and deprived state, he claims to have had a vision from God. That 1,000-yard stare one gets when achieving martyrdom, Fenton gets that, and comes back with a brand new perspective.
There is no God.
Oh wait, that was the old perspective. New perspective, please.
I saw God.
There we go. Fenton, in his desperation and starvation, finally sees God. Whether this is really a divine vision or the visions of a starved lunatic, we really can't know. All we know for sure is Fenton snapped. He's ready to take on Dad's mission. He's ready to become a certified doomslayer. So Dad takes Fenton out for his first victim, ready to do the ceremonial first murder. Dad decides to make it easy, choosing the most unlikable human on the face of the earth. Don't believe me? Watch their introduction.
Who is it?
Mind your business, you f***ing bitch. You got a lot of anger in you, kid. You're damn right.
Yeah, this is basically murder on easy mode. By the way, I genuinely have to know, how did they cast this guy? I would have been very offended to be considered for this role personally. Role, misogynist piece of shit. And the casting director is like, you're perfect, son. Gee, thanks. So they snatch up this next victim and take him to the murder basement. It's time for graduation. Time for Fenton to take his divine revelation and put it to use. So Fenton takes the axe from Dad, ready to fulfill his role as the next of kin in a family of doomslayers. He winds the axe back, ready to take a swing into this demonic entity presenting in human form. The shot lingers. Fenton holds the axe steady. And then...
Surprise, motherfucker.
Bill stares into his axe wound, perplexed at how his son could have possibly reached the conclusion that this was his only way out. And as he falls back against the wall, knowing that these are his final moments, he whispers in Adam's ear, "There is another Skywalker." And then he dies. But before Fenton can set this misogynist piece of shit free, Adam races in to finish the job. Now we're at the final act of the movie. And to be honest, this is the part where the plot stumbles the most. After recalling the most important parts of the story, he tells the detective,
"Listen, you mind if we just sit here a while? I don't much feel like talking anymore."
Matthew, you've been babbling nonstop for the last hour. There is nothing I want more on earth than for you to kindly shut the f up. The two reach the rose garden, and this is where the big twist is dropped. Matthew isn't actually Fenton Minx. No, he's Adam Minx. Leading me to wonder, why the f has nobody ID'd this guy before taking a car ride alone with him? And Adam has yet another secret. Unlike Fenton, he's always believed. He's been carrying on his father's legacy of doomslaying, and he has one last victim, the detective. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Adam Minx is actually here to kill the detective, which all starts with revealing his identity. So Matthew touches him, revealing the detective was the one who killed his mother. The detective stumbles to the floor as he's unable to walk. I guess exposing the demon's identity also incapacitates the demon now? Wait, why did they need that metal pipe then? If simply touching the demon also rendered them defenseless, why did they need to strike anyone? Why not just touch them?
Have you touched them yet?
Also, why was the detective motivated to kill his mother in a cartoonishly evil and extremely obvious way? But Sleeve, he's a demon, I imagine some will say. Look, even though they're demons, when you spend this much time on screen with a character, they should have some motivation as to why they turned cartoonishly evil. Just a tiny shred of motivation. I'm sure that even the forces of hell have somewhat of an imagination. I don't know, I got hung up on details like this by the end. Like the twist was just an afterthought to the overall plot. Let me know in the comments if I'm missing something, because I am genuinely confused. Matthew reaches for the old trusty Otis axe, explaining that this is where he buries his demons. Fenton was a different type of killer. He murdered people and kept their bodies as trophies in his basement. But demons like Detective Doyle, they're destined for a grave beneath the rose garden. That's what's about to happen to our ill-fated detective here. As he slowly realizes his fate, he tries to reason with Matthew.
FBI agent, they'll come looking for me.
And Matthew McC says,
God will protect me.
Fatality.
The film enters its final few minutes as we discover that maybe Dad, and by extension Matthew McC, were actually right all along. As we see the aftermath of all of this the next day, we realize that Matthew's face was scrubbed from the security footage. The security guard can't even remember what he looked like. And the actual murder house of Fenton Minx has been staged to look like Fenton was the culprit all along. And last but certainly not least, we find out that Matthew is actually a sheriff of a nearby county, and he's been covering his tracks through his position as a lawman. So does all of this definitively mean that God had a hand in everything? No, but it does seem to be divine in a way. I mean, I'd probably believe I was God's hand after having that run of luck, or that I had accidentally signed a deal with the devil. But either way, Matthew defeated evil, conquered his list, and stopped his brother at long last. I think we can officially say, having conquered every demon on earth, that Matthew McConaughey is officially the Doomslayer. Thank you, Matthew McC. Without you, we would have been feasted upon by the forces of hell, but you came, and you ripped, and you teared, and you saved us all. Thank you, Matthew McC. Truly, humanity thanks you. Anyway, that just about does it for this week's episode of The Rocking Horror Picture Show. Let me know what you thought about Frailty in the comments below. I'm your host, Sleeve T, and as always, I'm doing just fine. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Sleeve T, and I just wanted to thank you for watching this week's episode. I've really been enjoying reading my comment section, so I created a Discord in order to take recommendations for movies and let you join the discussion. The link is below. Also, I have a Patreon with completely uncensored episodes. You get to watch them on Monday instead of Wednesday, and you get your name in the credits right here. Hopefully I'll see you there, and I'll see you next week. Rock and roll.